right, focus up there. All right, we're good, right? All right, I want you guys to listen. Bring it in. No, 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 that's too close. Let's bring it on back. All right, right there. Stay right there. So, those who remember, I made a little video. We'll put it right here, which is the video where I got locked out of Sideshow. I had a credit card issue where my account got locked temporarily for 60 days. But in doing so, without losing out on figures, it basically, forced me to pre-order figures from other places that were in Sideshow. And that being said, we'll get rid of that video. And that made me create this video, which was basically giving you kind of a pros and cons list of buying from Sideshow versus local and what the positives and the negatives were. So if you want to check out those videos, I'll link them there, but that's what this video is. And we'll get rid of that video. That being said, so what you're going to see here is a little showcase of 10 figures that I bought not from Sideshow. I bought from other websites, other places, and I want to compare to you the savings. What we're going to do is we're going to compare the price from Sideshow with tax and shipping, if I would just bought the figure from there as is, versus what I actually paid. But you got to have your backups. That's the most important thing, is have backups just in case, because you never know what could happen. So we're going to start with the showcase, and I hope you guys really do appreciate it. Drop a like on this video. Please consider subscribing if this is in fact your first time watching, and let me know in the comments what your thoughts are. And this is 2023 in review, the money that I saved. So starting out, this list is going to be the Hot Toys Attack of the Clones R2-D2. You're going to see a graphic pop up on this, as will every other figure, that will give a breakdown of what the price was from Sideshow, if in fact I bought it with tax and shipping, and then you'll see the price that I actually paid for the figure and the individual savings. Now, for the sake of the video, I will not be disclosing where I actually bought these figures from. I did buy them from multiple sources, but just for, like I said, to keep names and things like that out of it, I'm going to leave that out of the video for this exercise. So starting with the Attack of the Clones R2-D2, this is a figure that I did not pre-order from Sideshow initially, but I do admit a little bit of FOMO had kicked in on this figure after I was seeing photos of it online and on some YouTube reviews. So I was able to actually get this figure. If I would have gotten it from Sideshow, it would have cost me $306.94. That is with tax and shipping. But in fact, I was able to pick this up for $275 flat out the door, which left me with a savings of $31.94. Now, this is a figure that, like I said, I didn't initially pre-order it, and I had no intention of getting this. I do not own the C-3PO, just because when that one was out, I opted to go with the 40th anniversary Return of the Jedi version, just because that's more of the C-3PO that I like. But this R2-D2 is one that I am so glad I did not miss out on. I didn't sleep on it. I was able to get it for a great price. And then, like I said, it's just a great piece to have in the collection. It is my only R2-D2 that I have, and so when I saw a couple of reviews of this out, it was one of those where I knew I made a mistake not grabbing it sooner. So I'm glad I got this for a deal, and this is the first figure to round out my list of savings. The next figure we're going to be looking at in this series is going to be the RoboCop 3 from RoboCop 3. And this is a figure that I did, in fact, day one pre-order. However, it was not with Sideshow, just because I knew that I felt like I can get this at a better price someplace else. And like I said, with these heavier items, the shipping is going to be more money. It was, die cast, things like that. So I was kind of preparing myself already when this one came out to seek an alternate avenue of pre-ordering this figure. And like I said, I did get it day one. This is one that I do have. The other RoboCop, if you guys seen this figure, as a matter of fact, made it into my top 5 purchases of the year, and I did do a review on this one as well, so you guys can check that out on the channel if you like. But it's a figure I knew that I wasn't sleeping on, had to have it the minute it was announced, so this is a great pickup for me. If I would have gotten this from Sideshow, this one would have cost me $420.42, but in fact, I ended up paying $375 flat, which left me with a savings of $45.42 for this guy. So especially the die-cast pieces, I was looking to save as much money as possible, and got an absolute great deal on this one for what it was, and this is going to be the RoboCop 3. Alright guys, continuing the theme of die-cast, we have the Iron Man Mark III which was another figure. Now, this is an interesting one. I actually did have this on pre-order with Sideshow, but when in fact the situation with my credit card, and like I said, I made a video about this. I don't want to go into too much detail about it, but this figure I actually did have canceled on me from Sideshow. I had a few orders actually canceled on me and refunded. This was one of them that I think I owed like one payment on left, and unfortunately the order got canceled and it got whatever money I paid for it got refunded, and unfortunately the figure had gone waitlisted, so I was not able to pick this up from Sideshow. So when I was locked out of my account, I sought alternate means of getting this figure. And one of the advantages of shopping local, and if you're you could reach out to people, is that if someone else orders a figure and cancels it, if you're lucky enough and you know the owner or something like that, you can reach out and say, hey, if you got one available, shoot me an email, send me an invoice, I'll pick it up. And that's actually what happened with this figure. I was able to snag it because someone else canceled it, and luckily enough, the owner, the shop didn't have to get stuck with it because I swooped in and said, hey, I'll take it, no problem. So the Mark III, if I would have continued my payments and paid this off from Sideshow, it would have cost me $506.74. But in fact, I ended up paying $455 flat with a savings of $51.74, which I think was an absolute great deal for this piece. And those who have it, I mean, for me, it's a great piece. It was also in my top 5 purchases of the year. Iron Man is my favorite Marvel movie, and the Mark III is my favorite armor. So it's a no-brainer that this one had to come home one way or another. So, all right, so the next figure is one that when I saw this, I knew I had to have it in the collection. Although, if you watched the video that I believe I uploaded a couple days ago, this did make it into my top 5 disappointing purchases of 2023. I'll link that video here if you guys want to check that out. I'll give you the reasons why. But this is the Bespin Luke DX from Hot Toys. And if anyone knows, Empire is obviously my favorite Star Wars movie of all time. And this is my definitive version of Luke Skywalker. So that being said, no brainer, it had to come home. So if I would have picked this one up from Sideshow, it would have ran me $322.93. But in fact, I ended up paying a flat $270 out the door, with a savings of $52.93, which I saved quite a bit of money on this piece. And so this is one that I'm really great. I saved a lot because, not to give too much away, but it was unfortunate that with it being a DX release, it was rather lackluster. And like I said, if you check out my video of top 5 disappointing purchases, I go into more detail about this figure as to why it was in my top 5 disappointment purchasing of 2023. But that's kind of part of the reason, is because of it, it didn't really live up to the DX branding as I thought. But nevertheless, Bespin Luke from Empire Strikes Back. Another figure from another great IP, which is a favorite of mine, which is obviously Back to the Future. I can't say that the Doc Brown Part 3, I was able to save money on him. He was one that I had paid off with Sideshow already, but I was able to pick his counterpart up, Marty McFly, much cheaper. I was able to pre-order him off, obviously not on Sideshow, but this is a piece, obviously it's a companion piece to Doc Brown, and it's a great figure. Absolutely love this one. Part 3 isn't exactly my favorite movie, but I will say these figures are pretty outstanding when they're together. And I also have a diorama clock set up that they're behind, so it's just absolutely great companion pieces. So for Marty McFly, if I would have bought him from Sideshow, it would have ran me $307.42, but I ended up paying a flat $260, which left me with a savings of $47.42. Which was really great to save, because Doc Brown, like I said, for reasons, for certain reasons, I ended up actually just buying him from Sideshow and paying Sideshow pricing. So it was good to see that, at least I was able to save some money on one of the 2 pieces out of this set, because obviously if you get one, you kind of got to get the other, so they're, together. So I was fortunate enough to at least save some money on the Marty McFly. All right, guys, so the next figure that I saved some good money on is Cad Bane. My actual first introduction to this character was from the Book of Boba Fett show. My big reason why I love this character a lot, and this specific look that you see here, is because I liked a lot of these figures that had the Wild Wild West kind of theme. Him, Cobb Vanth, Mandalorian himself, even the OG Durasteel Mando. I really like that whole Western vibe that they gave off, and I kind of have them posed together in my collection. That being said, this is a figure that I never even intended to pre-order on Sideshow. I was looking to try to save as much money as possible. So for this figure, if I would have bought him on Sideshow, it would have ran me $307.03. I actually ended up paying $270 flat, which left me with a savings of $37.03. All right, guys, so the next figure, I'm actually going to go a little handheld with this just because I don't want to ruin the pose, but this is Fennec Shan, a figure that I believe is in a lot of collectors' top 10 lists, even for the head sculpt alone. It's absolutely fantastic. A figure that I knew I had to have in the collection, but one that I definitely wanted to save as much money as possible on. So Fennec, she kind of ran the same kind of numbers. If I would have picked her up at Sideshow, I was looking around $307 for her with tax and shipping. But in fact, I paid $275 out the door, which left me with a savings around $37 or so. She is an absolute fantastic piece. It looks really great. As you can see here, I'll pan out. I have Boba Fett on throne, even the bigger base that I have here. So I have her in that pose holding the spatchka. But I did a lot of photography with her outside, and just the head sculpt is just outstanding. And it's just an amazing overall piece. I just love everything about this figure. And I'm so happy I have this in the collection and able to save some money in the process. All right, so the next figure is one that I definitely wanted to save some money on. It was Costa Reeves. Now the figure itself is outstanding. Those who have it think the head sculpt, like I said, you can't argue much about the head sculpt. It's one of the best head sculpts that Hot Toys have done this year. It's a figure I knew I had to have once I got Bo-Katan. I'm only missing Axe Woes. I am waiting for a deal on that figure just because I'm definitely not paying retail for it, but I do want to complete the Night Owls, the trio. But I did get her, had her on pre-order, didn't get it on Sideshow. Minimal savings on this figure, but nevertheless, savings are savings. If I would have ordered this from Sideshow, I would have been paying $307.03. But in fact, I ended up paying $280 flat, which left me with a savings of $27.03. It may not have seemed like much, and honestly, looking back on it, if I didn't get this figure as soon as I did, I probably would have saved more money on her. But like I said, savings are savings. And, it's better than nothing from Sideshow. So this is my next one is Costa Reeves. All right, now we're moving over to the Spider-Man shelf. Like I said, I'm filming this in the display just because it's a little easier to film it this way versus, taking it out. I did do an unboxing of it. If you guys are interested, I could always link that in the description to the video. But it is going to be Doc Ock. He's actually one that surprisingly I saved the most on out of all the figures you're going to be seeing in the showcase. So he was a figure that I missed out on. I didn't pre-order right away, but then even so, I actually missed it because of my account getting locked from Sideshow. I did in fact miss out on him along with a couple of the other villains. In fact, the only villain of the major three that I got from Sideshow was actually the Green Goblin. But Doc Ock, I did get him, from a local comic book store. And this one is the non-deluxe. It's the one with the regular arms. I did not need the red arms. So, like I said, I did a more in-depth unboxing of this figure. However, if I would have got this from Sideshow with all in, I would have been paying close to $400 on this figure. But in fact, I ended up paying $330, and I saved roughly about $73 on this figure. So this is one that I absolutely saved the most amount of money on, which I thought was absolutely great. Just because, like I said, there's a lot going on with it, and I really did want to save as much as possible. And this was one that I honestly lucked out on because I probably would have got it from Sideshow because I was worried about missing out on these figures. I do think the No Way Home line figures are going to be ones, especially the villains, people are going to probably maybe regret if they didn't get them soon enough. But the fact that I was able to save some really good money on this figure and get them at a really great price, it went hand in hand. So without a doubt, this is the one that I saved the most amount of money on, and I couldn't be happier about it, which is Doc Ock. All right, guys, so this one, obviously, if you watch my video, it's a top 5 purchase, and that is Peacemaker. It's silly, it's crazy, I love everything about it. But like I said, this made it into my top 5 purchases of the year. and this is one that I absolutely wanted to save some money on. I did pre-order this day one, even when he didn't go through all the changes in the body and the extra sculpt and stuff. So I hung with him from day one, and it paid off, especially because saved good money on him. So if I would have gotten this from Sideshow, this figure would have costed me $311.67, which still isn't bad, but you can argue whether or not it's worth that value. But for me, I ended up paying $275 flat, which left me with a savings of $36.67, which I think is an absolute great price for this figure. And it actually ended up making it into my top 5 favorite purchases. Yeah, I'm giving too much away, but I can't help it. And this is a figure that a lot of collectors, I feel like, was in their top 5 or top 10. So Peacemaker, some great savings, and a great figure. Now, a figure I'm so glad I saved some money on. No, it's not Bespin Luke or Snowspeeder Luke. It's actually the Ahsoka. This is a figure that it made it in my top 5 disappointing purchases, but nevertheless, it's still a nice figure to be represented. I did some modifications on it with the white lightsaber, USB I did on that, little LEDs. And I go into a more in-depth explanation in terms of why it was a disappointment, but it kind of follows suit with the DX Luke Bespin. The fact that, for the price that they were charging, I really didn't think that it was DX worthy. So therefore, I didn't pre-order this right away. I actually ended up just buying it straight out from online. I thought I got a fairly okay price on it, but I did save as much as I could on it. So for the Ahsoka, if I would have bought this figure from Sideshow, it would have ran me $323.02. I ended up paying a flat $280, which saved me roughly $43. So I think, and even now when you see them online, they're going for much cheaper, especially because Ahsoka the White being announced. But like I said, saving roughly $40 on this figure was better than nothing. Can't beat that. Like I said, I'm not totally upset about it. It's just that a lot of the things I wish this figure had, they made on the new Ahsoka. But the biggest, issue I have is just the fact that, like I said, it being labeled to DX when I didn't think that it needed to be a DX. All right, everybody. So that actually concludes the list of figures. Now, as I said, I broke down the totals for each one, but the final total of savings just on these 10 figures that you saw in the video is $476, which is insane for just 10 figures. Now, there was other figures that I definitely bought that were aside. This is just a list I put together of some, and now we're just doing a little overview. But that's a crazy amount of savings, and I definitely know I saved more. But that kind of stuff, basically that money saved, you could look at that as a kind of a reinvestment into the collection. Like, for example, that paid for potentially the WB 100 Wonder Woman, which I got this year. That also could have paid instead of for the exclusive Spider-Man right here that you see that I just did a review on recently. So, I mean, the savings are there. So going into 2024, my only advice, I'm not one to try to give out advice like that because I don't want to sound preachy by any means, but definitely just kind of be more open-minded with where you're getting your pre-orders from. But like I said, I don't want to speak to anyone. Everyone's situation is different. Do you have to day one pre-order stuff? Is that in your situation that you have to, or can you wait? But then obviously, I understand the concerns of, where do you buy Hot Toys outside of Sideshow? And there's a lot of stuff. You just got to do your research. There's overseas, but then, people get worried about stuff overseas, especially with a lot of the Toys Wonderland situation going on. But there's definitely trusted sellers that you can get from, and also just the local comic book shops. You got to just do your research and have your backups. If anything, that was advice that I didn't have last year in 2022, and 2023 was definitely the year of the backups. They definitely helped out and really changed my mindset in terms of how I actually purchase my figures. And even going into 2024, as of the time making this video, I have about 20 to 25 pre-orders right now, and only about 4 or 5 of them are with Sideshow. And if I had my way, I probably would have less. But I mean, that just kind of gives you an idea of just pre-ordering differently. But like I said, this is just meant, this is my situation personally. This is what works for me. It doesn't mean that it works for the next person. Everyone has their own way of budgeting, planning out, pre-ordering. A lot of people wait until, later on, get stuff at a deal. I respect everyone's way of collecting as long as it works for them. That is all that matters at the end of the day. This is your collection, just as this is mine, and whatever works works. As long as it doesn't, make you go bankrupt, and you have, a complete hold, and you can manage it. And at the end of the day, this is a luxury hobby. This is supposed to be fun. The minute this starts turning into a headache is probably when, you should start reevaluating your situation and figuring out why is it turning into a headache. That's the only piece of advice I could say. This should be fun. It should be enjoyable. You never should have a headache. If an invoice comes in, like, oh my God, oh great, here we go. You shouldn't be upset about it. You should have everything planned. And so that's my only piece of advice going into 2024 when it comes to this. And like I said, for me, I'll definitely be hunting for more deals and trying to, increase my savings into 2024. So until then, make sure to drop a like on this video. Please consider subscribing for this and future content if you are interested. I really do appreciate the support as always. And drop a comment below and let me know if you were able to save money this year and what were your biggest savings of the year. What are you most proud of in terms of your financial savings on figures? But until then, this is Mr. Mom Collectibles, and I will see you guys in the next video. Take care.